Welcome back to Whispered Firelight Stories. Fire's low, wind's turning. This one's about a mansion that shined too bright and a breath you couldn't buy. It's called The Gilded House and the Bloom.
They say the chauffeur's name was Mark Dobson, 32, pale, quiet. His job was simple: drive the cars, keep his mouth shut, and pretend not to see. On a Monday, he unlocked the side gate of the Wexler estate. 30 acres of hedges cut with scissors, marble fountains bubbling like champagne, imported trees whispering in an early autumn wind. His chest burned on the servant steps. Exhaustion, he told himself. Inside, everything gleamed. Not just clean, greedy. Corridors drowned in gold trim. Light switches plated. Toilet handles shining brighter than wedding rings. Mark thought of the flat he shared with his brother, brown water from one sad tap, and kept his face empty. By Tuesday, the cough began. Small at first, muffled in a gloved hand while he held the Bentley's door, carried parcels inside, waited at the foot of a staircase that glittered like a vein. "See someone, Dobson," the butler said. Mark nodded. Sunlight hit a gilded arch and swam his vision. The shine felt obscene. Wednesday breakfast, Mrs. Wexler went dizzy. A fork skittered across a gold-rimmed plate. The youngest daughter sneezed, red mist on lace threaded with gold. No one said a word. Thursday, the house went quiet. Doors shut, curtains drawn. Henry Wexler, the patriarch, billionaire of pills and property, raged in his study. "It's a flu. I buy doctors. I buy medicine. We'll be fine." His desk was inlaid with gold leaf. His hands shook over a map of veins. Doctors came. 3. Within hours, they coughed too. Masks were on order. Stockpiles had been sold off years before. Government contracts turned to private licenses, factories that once made protection stamping luxury instead. Friday, staff lay in the service halls. Groans under crystal chandeliers framed with gilt. The eldest son mottled black around the eyes, lungs frothing with every gasp. Henry wandered barefoot through the library, robe dragging across a carpet stitched in golden thread, begging books for a cure he could purchase. Saturday, silence. Only Mark breathing, locked in the garage, cough rattling like a failing engine. Dark veins bloomed beneath his skin. Above him, banisters shone, polished daily, bright as treasure, useless as prayer. Sunday morning, the mansion was a tomb. 43 souls, family, staff, doctors gone. Curtains fluttered in empty rooms. Flies droned along marble floors veined with gilt. The gates stayed closed, but the spores did not. They rode the wind, invisible, patient. They called it the bloom. What began in a house trimmed in gold started whispering outward. Neighbors first, gardeners paid in cash, kept off books, tugged bargain masks down to smoke at the gate. By Thursday, one lay dead above a laundromat. The owner banged on the door, breathed the air, and carried it back down the stairs. By Friday, the whole block wheezed together. Cameras came. Philanthropist family taken ill, doctors baffled. Reporters pressed lenses to iron bars, gators pulled down to shout questions. They caught more than quotes. One newsroom went quiet in 3 days. Blood coughed onto keyboards under portraits smiling from gold frames. Denials followed. Localized, contained. A press secretary said it smooth, a rash creeping up his neck. Behind him, aides whispered that the masks weren't obsolete. They were sold. Contracts called efficiency, profits laundered through friendly names. Pulpits thundered. A mask cannot save you, only faith can. Congregations shouted amens, faces bare. On TV, evangelists leaned into cameras, crosses glinting under studio lights. Do not let fear bind your lungs. God is your breath. Tents filled with song. A week later, coughs broke the harmonies. 2 weeks later, the tents sagged in rain. It spread spores, seeped into bus vents, school halls, subway tunnels. Blocks went quiet as if buildings held their breath. Street crews sprayed roads wearing scarves, coffee filters, t-shirts. None lasted the week. Hospitals overflowed. Sirens never stopped. Refrigerated trucks hummed in lots like dying beasts. Anchors urged calm. Executives whispered about trademarking survival gear. Behind the glass, the bloom kept drifting, mindless, thorough. Whispers rose from basements and storage lockers, not for miracles, not medicine, masks. Cloth turned to currency overnight. A single sealed box of respirators bought a car, maybe a life. Altars emptied. Megachurch stages lined with withering flowers, mics abandoned mid-sermon. Baptismal fonts filmed black where infected hands had touched. Broadcast towers carried only static. 100 pastors lay collapsed behind gilded pulpits, mouths open, waiting for an answer that didn't come. Certainty cracked. Believers watched children blacken, watched pews thin to nothing in a week. Some cursed leaders. Some cursed themselves. More than a few looked up and realized the sky was only sky. The bloom didn't hate or spare. It didn't bargain. Prayers and curses meant the same to it. Only the wind had a voice, soft, constant, carrying dust. At 7 p.m. one evening, screens across the country flipped to the blue seal of the Republic, an emergency override. A voice stumbled through static, flat and shaking. This is Colonel Robert Hensley. As of 1800 hours, the President, the Vice President, the Speaker, the Cabinet, all deceased. Command has failed. He coughed wet into his sleeve. Behind him, stretchers. Black bags stacked like firewood. We urge all citizens to shelter in place. Assistance is coming. The feed cut. It never returned. Threads snapped. Banks shuttered. Ledgers froze. The market dove until the servers burned out. Gold meant nothing. Towers meant nothing. Currency was cloth. People traded filters like coins. Mothers cut scarves into strips for children already coughing. A man was shot for pulling a spare mask from his pocket. Streets changed. Police fell back. Quarantine squads didn't return. Looters grabbed food first, then fabric, then anything to tie over a face. Caravans staggered along highways, cities glowing behind them like tombstones. Country roads were barred with tractors and shotguns. The wind walked through anyway. Power dimmed. The military split. Some units dissolved with their officers, others locked inside armories and called whole regions lost. Air bases turned to quiet museums of planes never flown. Foreign broadcasts promised help, then fell silent. By month's end, survival had one commandment: cover your face. Churches, banks, parliaments, all their altars replaced by barter tables where cloth was sacred. The bloom had no sermon, no crown. In a season it proved gods false, governments hollow, wealth counterfeit. What remained was a thin layer between breathing and oblivion. Even that was slipping. They still tell the story by fires like this, of a gilded house where a man who could buy anything could not buy breath, of a chauffeur who outlived a fortune by a week, of a wind that moved through a nation and found every mouth unguarded. If you keep anything in your go bag, let it be a strip of cloth. If you trust anything, let it be the habit of covering what breathes when the air turns strange. And if anyone tells you certainty is a shield, remember the sound a gold switch makes when no one is left to turn it off.
That was The Gilded House and the Bloom. For more nights like this, hit like, subscribe, and come back to the circle. There are always more stories waiting in the dark here at Whispered Firelight Stories.